The Haze Hour is sponsored by Janty, pioneers in e-cigs. Well, hello. It's
Good evening.
It's Thursday again.
It
Tis all day till midnight.
Soon flies round.
It just
Although I wasn't here last.
You weren't here last. No, you did
No.
the week gone Wednesday. Mr. Good show last night as well. We enjoyed that. Professor Jerry Stimson, the goodest of the good. He's definitely one of the good fellas. Was good. But tonight's going to be good.
Good.
I know you've been getting a bit, what's the word, somnolent with the level of technicality. Well,
Yeah.
snoring. It's just a polite word for snoring.
What's the word I use again?
Glazed.
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 That's it, glazed.
37,000 feet and climbing.
So am I going to be glazed tonight?
No.
All right.
No, we're going to start with something that is aimed at the raw recruit, at the beginner, at the people that are just thinking about getting in it.
Right.
And then in the middle, we're going to be talking about a plant that climbs up the side of a house.
Right.
Yes. Chris came to see me yesterday, you see.
Did she?
Oh yes, with Sav. We had a little meeting. And because we were having a little meeting, we had a little bit video. So we're going to be talking about this plant that climbs up the side of a house. Well, that's just a clue to the name. And then in the last part, it'll all be about that.
Clingfilm.
Yes.
Right.
This is
So you're going to do
e-cig.
some cooking or something?
Cooking, yep, it's e-cig porn, the kind of e-cig porn you would only ever get on the Haze Hour! We're talking about ivy plants that climb up the side of houses and Clingfilm, and I see that Jeff Bellion's typed into chat there'd better be duct tape. Wait till the second half. There's all kinds. Oh, seriously. A lot of video tonight, and we do need to blast on with it because the first one is 15 minutes long. But this is, as I say, aimed specifically at the beginner.
Right.
And I'm pleased you've just picked that up, and you'll see why. If you're a beginner or you're no beginner, watch this. If you're not a beginner, get them to watch this. I was approached the other day by somebody who was thinking about taking up e-cigs, a smoker, and the question I was asked was, where should I start? And I thought, I probably need to cover this. So here we go. If you were thinking about getting involved in e-cigs, you need to be thinking about where you're coming from, what you want it to look like, and how well it's going to suit you, how well it's actually going to work. So let's take a look at the first of the products that I wouldn't recommend people go to. And an example of that is here. And this is the beast. It's a looky likey, it looks like a cigarette. But when you take this little cap affair off, you'll see that it's got an atomizer inside it. What that basically is, that's the bit that heats the juice up and gives you the vapour. It comes with a really tiny capsule full of e-juice. It takes about 1/3 of a mil, if that. It's about 7 drops. And it fits inside this little cap. And that fits on there. And then that's you, ready to go, apparently. In all honesty, no. I wouldn't even think about it. Gone. If you're looking for something that's cigarette size and is going to work reasonably well, then something like the Ritchie Impulse is the beastie. Now, looking at that, it's black. It doesn't really look that much like a cigarette, but it does feel in the hand a bit more like a cigarette. And the thing about it is, it actually works. This is disposable, it's not rechargeable. £5, £6, something like that. And it actually produces quite well. Downsides for me, it's a bit on the mild side, and you'll see that it supposedly has a cigarette equivalent. Ignore that. You will only know by trying. But that's a Ritchie disposable. It's not a bad piece of kit. Where would you go next? If cigarette size is not important, and for a lot of smokers I know it is, but if cigarette size is not important, you will come across a number of different devices that fall into what I would call the ego class. And this is an ego. That's what an ego looks like. There are various different top ends to it, but the bottom line on it is it's a battery. It has a button that you press, and that heats up the juice that's in this top end here. There are various different ones, but at the moment, if I was going to make a recommendation at all, it would be for this. It's called a Vision Ego, and it is, I think, one of the better units out there. I've got it on as well a variable voltage battery. In this case it's the Ego C Twist battery, as you can see it says there, and you can raise or lower the voltage just by turning the bottom. And the same applies with this, which is a Vision Spinner, and again you can raise or lower the voltage simply by turning the bottom, and I need to explain all of that. Alrighty, I'm going to use the Ego C Twist for this, because if I pick the other one up it's blue, and as you'll see, you'll not be able to see it. First off, the Vision Ego itself, this piece of kit at the top, the cheapest chips, they're £4.50 a time, there or thereabouts. Various different names, but that's what it looks like. It has a replaceable coil, the unit that actually produces the vapour inside it, and a number of us have been using these for a while and they do not leak. They hold around about 1.5 mils, there or thereabouts. Now 1.5 mils of juice would be around about 15 cigarettes. If somebody that smoked 15 cigarettes a day would get away with one of these filled, that would see them through the day. Keith will no doubt confirm that when we speak about this afterwards. It produces remarkably well. I've got this set to the lowest that it'll possibly go to, and we'll give it a blast. That's not a bad chunk of vapour. It does the job remarkably well, and I think actually you can pick a kit up, you would be able to pick a kit up with an Ego C Twist or with a Vision Spinner, and 5 of these would set you back under £30, or should do at any rate, which is not a bad price, and that'll give you a charger as well. Now, I'm sat about 7 feet away from the camera, zoomed in, and this is really producing very well. Exactly the same applies to the spinner version. Again, set on its lowest voltage, it produces, that's 3.3 volts, 3.2 on the Ego one. Advantages of these, if you find, now, and this is a strange one, don't laugh, but I have a delicate mouth. I don't like my vapour too hot, but there are people that like, for some reason, very warm vapour. With one of these variable voltage batteries, the very simple variable voltage batteries, all you have to do is turn it up. As you'll see, it's at 3.3 volts here. Turn it up to, let's go to 3.8 volts, as it says there, okay? And at 3.8 volts, the vapour will be warmer. Which it is. And as you can see, more plentiful. Let's take it up another step and go from 3.8 volts to 4.3 volts. I hope you can see that. Okay, and we'll give that another blast. And again, exceedingly plentiful vapour. So you can adjust using one of these e-cig or Vision spinner batteries. You can adjust the output to suit how you want it to be. And just for daftness, let's take it right the way up to its fullest extent on this Vision spinner, which is 4.8 volts. Alright, and we can think of it as a temperature control for vapour when we're using one of these Vision Egos. This is a 2.4 ohm one. That's the standard resistance, if you like. So up to 4.8 volts. And that's too hot for me. But you've got the choice. You can go where you want with this. Now, it does not look like a cigarette. These things do not look like a cigarette. You're unlikely to be challenged for using something that looks like a cigarette anywhere where anybody might object. And indeed, I think these are quite neat. They don't look at all bad. Side view. Nothing wrong with that. And that was back down at 3 volts, 3.2 volts. Nothing whatever wrong with that. But in order to use one of these, you need juice. And where would I start you? Well, let me show you some and tell you which one I would say would be the better one for somebody to start. And we'll start by looking at this. And the bit I want you to see is there, where it says nicotine 9 milligram per milliliter. That's not a good place to start. The flavour is gorgeous on this. I really do like the flavour, but at 9 milligrams you're not going to get the satisfaction that you would from a cigarette. So where next? Well, what about this one then? And this is 24 milligrams from UK e-liquid on this occasion, and it's RY4. 24 milligrams I think would be the minimum that I would suggest for somebody that's just getting a start with e-cigs. What I would much prefer people went for would be this, and this is 4.5%, 45 milligrams per milliliter. Now this is available in a number of different places. This one's called Eco Pure Rich, and in terms of the higher strength juices, this is without doubt one of my favourites. Now there'll be people watching this and going, 4.5%, that's ridiculous. it may seem that way, but trust me on this one, there is an advantage to buying a higher strength, slightly lower flavoured juice. And that advantage is as follows. If you find that a 9 milligram juice, such as this one, or really anything under 24 milligrams, if you find that that is not satisfying you, you have no way of bumping it up. And if you are using your newfound e-cig out and about, or at work, or anywhere where you would want to take kind of a normal fag break, if you like, you're not going to be able to sit and suck on it for 25 minutes to get enough nicotine into your system to keep you happy. With the 45 milligram though, the Eco Pure or whichever one you go for, things are slightly different. If it's too strong for you, then you can perhaps just take 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 drags and put it down. Those of us that use a lower strength juice will be sitting chuffing away on it all day and very rarely putting it down. And unfortunately I find myself in that boat quite often if I've got a lower strength juice. I usually use 36 milligram. If I'm going to be in a position where I can't use as much, I will always take the 45 milligram with me. That means I'm not going to be sitting chuffing all the time. The other advantage of using a really high strength juice is that you can dilute it down with glycerin if it's too strong for you. And glycerin you can buy anywhere. So it's very, very easy to use. So my recommendations then, and it's very rare I make a recommendation, if you are new to e-cigs and you're looking to get started and you want to know what to get, here's what I would go for. I would go for a Vision Ego. Easy to fill, just in the top. I would get either an Ego C twist battery, or I would get one of the Vision Spinner batteries. Either one. I like them both. They both do the same job in the same way. They're very easy to use, and they will allow you to be able to tailor your experience. And I would go for a 45 milligram juice, or at the very least a 36 milligram juice. Flavour is entirely up to you. That would be my starting point. If cigarette looky-likiness or size is really important, then something like the Ritchie Impulse, or a vaporized Gemini, which is one this is a rechargeable unit, and it's on and off the same sort of size as the Ritchie. There's not much difference between them. Neither of them look like cigarettes, and neither of them have a red end. That one's green. That's the vaporized Gemini. This one's white. As you'll see, neither of those two perform as well, even close to as well as the Vision Ego. That's the place to start, at this point at any rate. If you're buying for somebody for Christmas, you know what to do. Back to the studio. And here we are back in the studio.
Thought that was very good, very informative.
Thank you, Keith. And I see that you have in your hand
I have.
an Ego C twist with a Vision Ego on top of it.
I use this most of the time.
Yes, it figures. Do you ever turn it up?
No, the only problem I would have with this is it's very difficult to see the settings.
Yes.
On the you almost need a magnifying glass.
I do need a magnifying glass.
Well,
if I haven't got my glasses on, I can't see what it says. But to be honest, you just turn it until it's right.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes.
There you go. Loads of comments in chat were coming in on that. People saying that they started on 11 milligram and 18 milligram and stuff like that. And Dave Kitson's chimed in. Great mate of mine, Dave. And basically he said that milligram strength, liquid strength in milligrams, is inversely proportional to the amount of time you're sucking on it. The more you suck it, the lower the strength, and that's probably about right. So if you're in a position where you need to be able to put it down, I've got 45 mils in this, 45 milligram juice in this Vision Ego on top of a Ego Seed twist. And if I'm out, you know, somewhere where I think there might be issues, or if I know I'm going to be in maintenance, then I'll use that.
Yes.
And take, you know, 10 or 20 good draws, go in and I can do an hour. If I was to take this beastie or any of the other stuff, I'd be sitting dragging on it all day.
Yes.
And it's kind of horses for courses. But I hope that was useful. I think what we'll probably do is highlight it on Justin TV, and we'll make it available as a separate little piece so that people can tune into it and see it whenever they feel the need. Like I say, I do just hope it was helpful. And we'd probably better take, he said, looking at the clock, the adverts before we get shouted at. And when we come back, we're going to talk about plants that climb up the side of houses.
I'm fascinated to the relevance of it.
Oh, it's beginnery again.
Right.
It's all good. See you in a couple of minutes. The Haze Hour is brought to you by Janty, pioneers in electronic smoking. iVapor and iVapor Elixir, based in Yorkshire, for your e-cig needs. That's ivapor.co.uk and ivapor-elixir.co.uk. iVapor and ivapor-elixir.co.uk, proud sponsors of vaportrails.tv. And now back to the Haze Hour, sponsored by Janty. And we're back in the room, me and Keith, here on the Haze Hour on a Thursday night.
Moving over to horticulture.
Horticulture, well, sort of.
Right.
Going back, 18 months or so, perhaps even longer, I used to occasionally toddle off up to Tynemouth.
Oh, yes.
Share cat, as it were, and we would do broadcasts on the witching hour.
Nice place, time.
It is. And well, yesterday she came to me.
Right.
And we got on talking about ivy.
Yes.
I sat down to edit the video. And as you usually do with these things, you watch it all the way through. And then you chop bits out and splice bits together. I haven't. This is how it happened. I'm sat here in the front room with Chris, Kat. She's there, look.
Hello, I'm here.
She's there. Got no idea how this is going to come out, but we're going to give it a go. I'm sat with, in my hands, the Fogarty with the mauve, it's mauve, the tip's mauve.
It is mauve.
It's mauve. On a version 4, what do you call this thing? Lava tube, Lambo, Wawa, Lambo, whatever. Aye. But you've got something new, haven't you?
I've got the ivy.
Ivy?
Ivy.
IV, 4.
No, IVY. As in beautiful decorative foliage. And hence I put the green drip tip on the jade one.
Right.
because it's the ivy.
Oh, please, I've got my glasses on.
And it's made by a chappie called, well, his forum name is Blast from the Past.
Does that mean he's old?
I didn't think so.
Right, well.
But he came up with an idea of creating a jenny. And more to the point, he came up with the idea of creating a peg-style jenny.
Right.
Now, if you don't know what a peg-style is, it's the one where it's got two silver pegs instead of screws. You probably won't be able to see it from there, but we'll get you a close-up in a minute.
Well, they will if Sav zooms in.
If Sav zooms. She's on Savcam, you know.
Savcam.
Hello.
Are you zoomed in?
I am.
So, there are two pegs. A long one and a shorter one. And the idea is quite simple. The wick goes down the centre, which in this case is mesh. You've got to use a mesh wick for this. And you wind your little coil around, and the bottom bit goes on the short peg and the top bit goes on the long peg. So it's very simple, especially if you've got dexterity problems and you can't be bothered with screws. The NAS.
But I like screwing.
Well, when you like screwing. But us gentler female race would.
Yes,
Didn't
well,
tell
we
her
all
that.
know that ladies don't like screwing.
So, you've got your two pegs, and that's, you just simply wrap around at the top. Press your button, and with a bit of luck, all is well, you know.
So,
And it works.
what resistance is your coil?
Who knows?
Well, I'm going to find out. Take it off.
I don't do resistance, you all know that. I don't do
As
all.
far as Cat is concerned, resistance is futile.
And it's on one of these ego twisty things.
Aye.
Only because I had everything else engaged
Take it off.
with other thing. Take it off.
Aye, the top. No, leave that on. No, we didn't. Whatever. Put your jadey thing on. I'm gonna question you about all of this, right? Thank you very much. Ta.
You kind of question me. It'll come up at 0.7 or something daft like that.
I wouldn't be at all surprised. What juice have you got in this?
Apple and caramel without the ethyl malt though.
No coconut.
No, it's no coconut.
2.2 ohms, missus. I'm
Not bad, then.
stunned and shocked.
So ma.
I'll give it a blast. God, you like a tight draw.
I do.
That explains why you've got a bit of gaffer tape over it.
That does. I do like a tight draw. And I did find that a bit airy for me.
Bloody hell.
But that's why I didn't part with new baby.
Screw this onto there. That's a Fogarty. And I've got that set, so that's the way I like it.
I know, but you and me never agree on this. But everybody's different. Isn't that right? See, that is just a bit too airy for
Can
me.
I whip the gaffer tape
Of course
off?
you can.
Because this has got a 1.2mm heel, and when you take the gaffer tape off, that is, yes, it's tapered 1.2mm. Let me turn this up. No, that's just right for me.
Now this is what I thought. That what's right for one is wrong for another.
It could be, I've got to be absolutely right about it. It could be just a tad tighter. But I couldn't lung it. That would hurt to lung. Right? Now, the reason why we're looking at this, like this, I mean, the construction of it is fairly straightforward, isn't it?
Very straightforward. Very nice.
I'm stunned that you've got it to 2.2. You must be really good with wicks.
No, I'm good with these ones, the pegs.
Yeah, Yeah, but you must...
I wish I was as good with the other tape.
That's got a metal deck, so you must be really good at sorting out what everybody's calling oxidisation of the wick. Because it's not, you've got no hot spots on that, it's not shorting out onto the bottom, onto the deck or anything like that.
No.
Ah, I've just had a thought actually. Can I just have another look at inside?
You will see there should be 2 little plastic bits at the bottom.
That's what it is, right. There you go. Now, they're insulted. The 2 plastic bits are insulted. I'm going to hold it there and I'm going to let Sav zoom in. And I'll try and get some close-ups after the event, as it were. But the 2 pins that are in here are insulated from the deck. This backs up what I've been thinking.
Yes. And the line, which was the first one that came out like that,
is exactly the same.
Is exactly the same.
And my NGPs, the poles are insulated from the deck.
Yes.
But with the Fogatti and with the Cobra and with a great many others, the deck is not insulated from the negative pole, which is why I've come up with something else, but I'm going to show you that in a separate video. That's impressive. Are you finding that too airy again now?
Aye.
There's your
it's a bit too airy for me, but as I say, it's spot on for him, so therefore this is what I thought when I first took it out of the box and tried it. Works first time, you know, and I have to say I've never had a hot spot with it, because the beauty of the peg style is you simply just get your fingernail in there and move them around a bit. You know, even you can't do that on a screw, but you can with these, and everything sorts itself out. I've never had a problem.
See, I didn't realise that the line was insulted.
Yes, it is.
That there was insulation there. Is that hole in the
well,
right place?
No, it doesn't matter. I can't see anyway. But with the line, it's got, they are clear little bits of plastic, so it is hard to see. But this is why I never had any problems with hot spots. But you do get them with all the others.
See, I've been wondering for donkey's ages. There will be another bit of video, and the other bit of video involves this. Clingfilm, right?
We're not making Christmas puddings.
No. The bottom line. The bottom line on it is the majority of the Genesis style atomizers that I am aware of, the deck is the negative contact. And if you don't get your oxidization of your wick 100%, that's where the hot spots come from, because they're caused by shorts. I've been microscopically examining these things. And Clingfilm is your friend, but you'll see that in a separate video. So how much is this Ivy?
£75.
Right.
I believe, what was it, 70? 70 or 75, I can't remember now. And you just contact Blast from the Past on UK Vapors Forum.
I'll ask you the same question that I ask of everybody. Would you buy another one?
Yes.
Like a shot, or would you think about it?
I would have to think about it, and I'll tell you why I would have to think about it.
Go on then.
I don't need to. One works perfectly well.
Well, I was thinking in terms of Christmas presents for
if I lost it,
handsome lads wearing green and red shirts.
If I lost it, would I buy another one? Yes.
I've got to say,
I'm a peg person. I love them. I find them easier with the eyesight problems.
Well, now we know why as well, because they're insulated. I've got to stop saying insulted. Insulated. I wondered when I saw the 2 little bits of wire going up. It's obviously 2 silver posts going up.
2 silver posts.
That is beautifully made. That is really beautifully made.
It is.
I like that. I think, for me, a slightly smaller chamber.
I would agree, because sometimes the vapour feels a little bit on the cold side.
I've gotten quite used to the small chamber in the Fogatti, and I do like that. And I've also got to say, you know, we looked at the Booty Cobra.
Yes.
Well, the Booty Cobra's cap fits on the real Cobra.
All right.
And with that smaller chamber on the real Cobra,
right,
it's just that little bit more thrutchful.
Yes. Yes.
So perhaps I think there's room for a smaller chamber on there.
Oh yeah. Let's have a look. Yes.
Yeah. You could knock half a centimetre off that and it would still be fine.
Mm-hmm.
So yes.
And of course the other positive thing about these is with the wick being in the centre.
Doesn't matter where your hole is.
Exactly.
I've been saying that for years.
And personally I prefer the screw tops to the pull-offs, because the pull-offs can... Just ignore him. Just ignore him.
I must admit I prefer a screw to pulling off myself.
Sav, stop laughing.
I don't know whether that's going to stay in or not.
I'll say the D word in a minute.
No, it looks nothing like it.
I'll tell you why I prefer these. I've got one of the, what do you call it, Mark? What, version 1 lava tube.
Aye.
And every time, if I've got, oh, I've lost it. Where is it? If I've got the Hellfire, which I've got here, if I've got the Hellfire on that lava tube, and I pull the top off, the whole top comes off the lava tube at the same time, and I'm left with wires.
You can't pull the top off this, that's solid.
So this is why I prefer the screw ones. It is quite hard.
So are you saying you don't like the Hellfire then?
I didn't say that.
I'm going to be Keith.
No, you're not.
Oh, bugger.
Oh, hell no.
Well.
I like them. But the Ivy, yes, I do like the Ivy.
Right.
It's, but then I made no secret, I was the first one on the waiting list for an Ivy. Because I've always, since I bought the line, said I love the silver pegs.
Is it numbered? It is as well.
It is, yes.
Number 18.
Yes.
Yes. I think it gets my seal of approval for ease of wicking.
Oh, very much so.
So there you are. Go on, I'll let you have it back.
Thank you very much.
So that was, yeah, we don't do these very often, do we?
No, thank
Should
God.
always do it more. I love you too. There you go, Dave and Kat in the living room.
Getting on each other's wicks.
Oh, you see what she did there? Shall we say it together? Back
Bye.
to the studio.
To the studio. Bye-bye.
Ta-da. I didn't dare edit it. I couldn't edit it.
Trust you to taint an informative bit of video.
Where was it tainted like?
Well,
I was telling the truth. I do prefer a good screw to pull off. Yes.
yes,
Quite.
the holly and the ivy.
The holly and the ivy, yes indeed. It is actually a nice piece of kit, that.
Yes, it seemed to be.
Oh, it's beautifully built. Without a shadow of a doubt, it's beautifully built. I do quite like that. A lot.
But you couldn't get it.
No, I did me damnedest, you saw that.
You did.
I
yes.
tried like a good one.
Yes.
I thought, what would Keith do? I was channeling you.
What would Keith do?
Well, it seemed fair at the time.
Yes,
seemed
but
fair
you
at the
ended
time.
up being gentlemanly.
Always. I took the weight on my elbows.
Quite.
Yes,
Yes.
as a gentleman should. Indeed, indeed. What are we looking at? I'm just looking at chat. I should never ever look at chat. Yes. Right. Okay. I'm not going to read it. For those of you watching video on demand, come and watch it live. We do have, I've said this before and I will say it again, we do have the best chat on the planet. They come up with some right corkers. So if I end up corpsing, you know why. It's because I've read what they've been typing in chat and I can actually see it tonight. Yes, and as Very Boring has said, I should have sent you in. And then that was the way I would have got my hands on it.
Right.
Yeah. Have you ever tried getting anything back off Keith?
No, you've never asked. You've never asked.
You've never offered
What?
either. Oh dear, I don't
Because
know.
I'm forgetful.
Yes, that's what it is.
Yes,
It's not so
yeah.
much age as experience.
Well,
you're the most
I'll put it
experienced
down.
on the cul-de-sac, I'm telling you that. Oh Lord.
Oh dear.
We're sober as well.
Yes, yes.
Keith's on coke and I'm on apple juice.
Oh, I thought it was cider.
Shush.
Oh, sorry.
We'll take the adverts. We'll be back in 2 minutes and then, it's Clingfilm with Zelda. The Haze Hour is brought to you by Janty, pioneers in electronic smoking. And now back to the Haze Hour, sponsored by Janty. I am not going to mention what Disco Des has just said about Swarfiga in chat. Suffice it to say, I think everybody's got the wrong idea about Clingfilm. It's wonderful stuff, and it solves a problem that was actually highlighted during that little chat with Kat, the Kat chat, if you like.
When you showed the click.
And this runs for 15 minutes and 6 seconds, so I'd better start it now. It might be helpful, I hope it is. It's just what I've been doing. So Dave, it's over to you.
Thanks, Dave. Yes, here I am in the development studio. It's where I play. It's actually the same place that I do all of the shows from, which is fine too. Forgive the hair, bedhead, what can I tell you? If you use one of these, or even one of these, they've got one thing in common. They are Genesis style atomizers, which have a metal deck. Let me try to show you, if I can, where the similarities come with all of these things and why a metal deck can be a problem and the solution to it. Let's start with the Cobra, and this is the Cobra. Now, as you can see, the negative terminal, and Lord knows there are plenty of them, the negative terminal has a direct connection with the deck. The deck itself is a negative terminal. It's carrying power. Let's get rid of that one. And let's bring in this one. This is the VH Genesis. It's got 1,000,003 other names, but exactly the same applies. The negative terminal is part of the deck. The deck carries power, whether it's to the coil or away from the coil. It really doesn't make any difference, but it carries power. And the same applies with the Fogarty and various others. However, As you'll have seen when I was talking with Chris, Cat, earlier on, her Ivy and indeed the line have two terminals that don't connect with the deck. They are insulated from there. I kept on calling it insulted. And the same actually applies with something like the NGP, if I can show you that. And the NGPs have completely insulated terminals, as in there is no way that the wick can contact the negative, and this, I believe, is the issue. We're looking at a situation where in a metal decked Genesis, where the negative terminal, which is the one usually closest to the deck itself, isn't insulated from it, the deck itself becomes a conductor, and that can cause a problem. Now, the number of times we've shown, not just on here but all over the place, the number of places you can go and see how to make yourself a mesh wick where you're heating it up and oxidizing it, everybody calls it, which might well be the case, I don't know. If you get that absolutely perfect and the mesh wick itself doesn't make any electrical contact with the deck, then it's going to work really well. But a number of people I've spoken to have told me that they see the ohmage, the resistance of their coil, which they know when they've burned it, as I've shown before, just without the mesh in, they know it's at 2.3 ohms. They put the mesh wick in and it drops to 1.4, and they're kind of wondering why. And the reason why is there is a short, and the shorts cause hotspots. It's that simple. No matter how good you are, no matter how careful you are, you stand a good chance of getting a short via the wick to the deck where the deck is not insulated. So how do you get around this? Back to closing up you can. And the answer has been in that shot all the time. And it's Clingfilm. That's all it is. That's it. Clingfilm. That's all you need. Now there'll be people going, what the hell are you going to do with that? It's dead easy, and I'll show you on one I made earlier, because fingertip stuff on this is going to be pretty hard to see, but you may just be able to make out that there's a wrap of cling film around this wick just there, and the way it works out is quite simple in actual fact. Let me put my little bit of cling film there, and it doesn't need much. Get a pair of scissors, and what you need to do is measure the depth of your deck and cut yourself a strip of cling film accordingly. It needs to be slightly bigger than the depth of your deck. I've been running it around about 1/4 to 1/3 of an inch. Now this is why I decided to film this and not do it live, because it can be a pain in the butt to cut. The easiest way is probably to use a straight edge, a metal straight edge, and an X-Acto knife or something similar. Get it all held down well and properly and cut yourself your strips. But having done that, it doesn't need much, because it's just going to go around a wick. I'm going to pick a wick out here and try and do this at fingertips. You should know where your coil is going to start, and then very simply butt your cling film up to where your coil is going to start, and then just roll it as you would the wick. Try and keep your fingers out of the way, keep it relatively tight, and you only actually need enough. You don't need to do more than a couple of turns. All you're trying to do is insulate the wick from the deck, and if you do that, then you discover that your resistance doesn't go up and down like a fiddler's elbow. Now this one will work quite nicely. I'll just cut that little bit off, snip, fine it down, give it a good snugging up, and that will fit straight into, well, that one's actually built for a Fogarty. That'll go straight into a Fogarty, and it will insulate the wick from the deck which is carrying current, because, well, it's Clingfilm. It doesn't pass any electrical current. Now, I'm sure there are people sitting around there going, what the hell did you pick Clingfilm for? Well, I'll tell you for why. The thought occurred to me that I was cooking. I've got to be honest, I was cooking. I was baking a cake. I know, it sounds really manly. I blame all of these cookery shows on the telly. Anyway, I was baking a cake and I needed to use Clingfilm on the cake, on the pan and what have you, to be able to sort this all out. And I thought, hang on a minute, that's going into an oven at about 400 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll give you the recipe later. 400 degrees Fahrenheit would give us terribly burnt juice and be fairly close to producing acrolein, which we don't want. And we kind of don't get to those temperatures. Certainly the deck doesn't get to those temperatures. And so I thought, well, I'll give it a go. And I did. And I've been using it on both the Fogarty and on the Cobra since Sunday, when I came up with it. And I know Mark Jones has been using it as well. And we're both finding exactly the same. We get perfect isolation. So yes, it's when I was sitting down with Chris and filming the piece about the Ivy, which you've already seen, that was when I realised why it was so easy to create coils in the dark, where you weren't really worried. The mesh wick did not have to be 100% covered with oxidation, because both of the terminals were insulated from the deck. And it's why I've found coiling the likes of the NGP, which is a totally plastic tank, and where there is just no way that the deck can carry any current. That's so easy, and I wasn't getting any hot spots, I wasn't getting any daftness. The NGPs were just working. And then it came to me, that was what the reason was. So give it a try. A little bit of Clingfilm, that's all it takes. The Clingfilm itself isn't going to cause any problems. So far in 4 days, I've had no issues whatever with meltage. It's been absolutely fine, and it's working absolutely perfectly. I'm getting no variation whatever in the resistance of the coil. I'm not pushing the wick up and down every 5 minutes, and I suspect Mark Jones will tell you the same, because I know he's been playing with it, and 1 or 2 others have that I've shared it with. So there you go, a little bit of Clingfilm. That's all it takes. Back to the studio.
And here we are back in the studio, and here is that's actually the coil in here for the one that I did. That was the one, and I've put it in the Cobra, and no meltage of any plastics in any way, shape or form, and it's really kicking up a storm.
I'm just a bit disappointed you didn't offer me a bit of your cake with me coke, because I've never had cake cooked in a pan before.
Well, it's the pan that you put in the oven.
A cake tin, you mean?
Ah, cake tin.
Ah.
Oh, pedant.
Sorry.
I was just trying to show. This
yeah.
This is, let me see. Dink, 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 dink. Can you read that? Too vain to put my glasses on, and I'm running out of time. Am I?
Gone off.
5 pieces. Not the red one. The big one on the side. I've got my glasses on
What's the
now.
big one?
2 ohms.
Yes.
It's exactly where I would have expected it to be, and it is vaping up a storm. As you should be able to see.
2 ohms.
2 ohms, and it hasn't flackered since I put it in, and I recorded that this morning. So it works, and it works very, very well. I know some people will have misgivings about it. I understand that. They'll be thinking, but it's plastic, but you cope with it. The easy way to find out is try it. You'll sharp find out if it doesn't suit you. I said vaping up a Storm Super 7. I did not say vaping up a scone. I should not have mentioned. I should not have mentioned the bacon. I don't know.
I thought you'd have brought the cake in, actually.
I ate it all. I'll make you one.
Right, and I'll keep you to that.
It's a pot of yoghurt, right?
Right.
A pot of oil. So they use the same yoghurt pot, fill it up with oil, right?
Yeah.
Then fill it up with twice with sugar, and then 3 times with flour. Put 3 eggs in, beat it like a batter, chuck it in the pan, put some Clingfilm over the top, 2 little holes, hide it in the oven at 400 degrees. Leave it there for 27 3/4 minutes in my oven, and it'll come out lush.
What sort of cake's that?
It's a yoghurt cake.
Right.
Lovely with custard or cream or ice cream. Delia Dawn has spoken.
Delia Dawn. I'm a Nigella fan myself, but...
Well, yes. I'm not bothered about my night.
Right.
No,
Right.
we're not going there. Not with Nigella. I think we probably ought to be thinking about saying good night.
Yes.
Before we do, though, everybody's been talking about the e-cigs, and rightly so. If it does what it says on the tin, it's going to be brilliant. I have one on order. I would like a second one, because I have the feeling you want to play with one. Yes, I'm in dire danger of losing it. This Joytech e-cig looks cracking, but I got something else in the post today, which came from Toby at Ivy, and 'tis this. Looks like a cigar, tastes like a cigar.
Very realistic.
And I'm going to be chuffing on it before next week, and I'll let you know what it's like. It'll be canny. It'll be very canny. And I still cannot say what time it is.
You've got 3 minutes, Dave.
Oh, that's cool.
3 minutes.
My goodness me, we've moved up on things. I'm stunned and shocked. I'm just gonna right. For those people watching on video on demand, I don't normally do this, but Brian Fletch, corner now for saying that Dave's got bigger boobs than Nigella. I haven't.
No.
I make more boobs than she does, but my boobs are nowhere. No, it's not.
Talented woman.
Yes, and Jimbo UK, 1977, thank you for spotting that Keith's picked it up. He's not getting out with it.
Yeah, just trying it. Nice.
I tell you what, it's been cracking. It's been cracking. I need to say our thank yous, as per usual. Thank you to Kat for doing the ladylike yelling and reminding me of how long we've got. Thanks, Kat. Lovely to have you with us. And thank you so much for coming down yesterday and doing that video with us. Thanks to Keith for joining me yet again.
Pleasure. Enjoyed.
It's been a blast. Thank you so much for watching. We love to have you with us. We'll see you. Well, Keith won't see you next week, will you?
No.
But I'll be here. Till then, bye!
The Haze Hour was sponsored by Janty, pioneers in electronic cigarettes.